order. Everybody stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Mayor O'Connor.
Here.
Morissette.
Here.
Wakefield.
Here.
Knudsen. Here. Kennedy.
Here.
Ruck.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
All right, first up is comments from citizens present. This is your opportunity to speak to any issue that is critical to the city that is not on tonight's agenda. If you do have a comment, please come to the podium, identify yourself and your address. Please keep your comments brief. Please try not to repeat other people's comments. So, does anybody have a comment?
How's it going, guys? Nicholas Kramer in District 2. The one day I didn't prepare anything, we had quite the audience after months of coming here to talk about flock cameras. So I suppose I owe you guys a brief recap, the audience over here. A handful of years ago, the city installed a network of what are called flock cameras. They're automated license plate readers. So how they work, as you pass one, there's a network of these across the city. It logs varying degrees of information about you, your travel, your vehicle. With Flock Freeform, Flock Nova, that includes your address, known affiliate, social security number, all types of details you wouldn't want compiled into an AI-powered database for anybody to view and search. I've talked to the council quite extensively about the constitutional concerns when it comes to the use of Flock. City councils across the country are taking Flock out of their cities due to those concerns. And there's many lawsuits, in fact, regarding the constitutionality of Flock. Boulder City Council actually noted how corrupt Flock itself was. But the word of the day is ICE and immigration. So there has been countless instances where ICE has been caught getting backdoor access to these databases for the use, for the purpose of immigration enforcement. So what that means is they can look in their database and search through and find people who they might think might be illegal. And track them down, find them. Even more scary, and this has been across the country, particularly Minneapolis recently, they're using the Flock system to track peaceful protesters. So say you go to Minneapolis and you engage in a peaceful protest, a peaceful demonstration. It's been shown, and there's evidence, and in many cases, in fact, you'll see it in the news.
So, Nick, you're kind of borderline right now, crossing the line. With respect,
which line?
The ICE conversation is on the agenda tonight. That line.
It's in reference to Flock. Flock isn't on the agenda.
Well, but you're talking about ICE right now, and
I will refrain from the word ICE. If that's all right.
Okay.
Okay. Where was I? Law enforcement of the federal variety is using Flock cameras to track down peaceful protesters and engage them. Kind of threw me off a little bit there. Anyway, they're using an AI network to track down peaceful protesters who are exercising the First Amendment right to varying degrees of consequence. But in any case, it is a huge constitutional red flag for A, the database to exist, and B, be used in the way that it is being used. So you go to a protest, you go home, the next day there's an unmarked vehicle that may follow you, that may ask you questions. Maybe they get out. They ask, hey, where are you going? What are you up to? Right? So I encourage you guys. Usually I prepare statements. If you go back and look at historical city council meetings, I've talked extensively about the use of Flock cameras. Many of you may have seen that. I put a post up on the Hudson Facebook page that got many tens of thousands of views. But look into it. Look into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Any other comments?
This may be a first point of clarification, but then a comment. So my comments tonight were regarding immigration. However, I note that it is a council discussion on the agenda.
State his name.
Yeah.
Sorry, Christopher Shelton, District 5.
Okay. Did you get it?
So,
Can you say your last name again?
Shelton,
Thank you.
Shelton. So my question is, I can save my comments that I have for that agenda item, if that's going to be
No, there
part
will
of
be
the
no
discussion.
comments coming from the audience on the agenda item. That's just for the council members tonight.
Okay. So in that case, I would implore the council tonight to adopt a formal separation ordinance specifically prohibiting city officials or law enforcement from providing resources, information, or support that aid in enforcing federal immigration law.
Point of order. Point of order.
Yep,
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
go ahead.
You're not to mention immigration or ICE because it's an agenda item. Just this afternoon, in the last 5 hours, I've gotten 10 emails. There are avenues to communicate with us, which dozens of people have written to us. But tonight, you're not allowed to speak. It's not a town hall. So your opportunity to give us information about immigration enforcement was up until the meeting started.
And that has been provided to my council members.
Thank you. We're glad to receive that, but I do object to the continuing discussion and pushing the line.
You're not allowed to talk about
I'm asking the mayor to enforce the guidelines in fairness to all the Hudson residents, in fairness to everyone.
This isn't just about this issue. That's just a rule that we have had forever, that any comments, citizen comments, are not allowed to broach subject of anything that's on the agenda.
So as one more point of clarification, if I could, if citizens were to provide comments in the category of federal law, not specific to
No, if
immigration.
it has, I mean, we're gonna have a discussion about this tonight. At the last council meeting, we had extensive citizen comments about the same topic that you're talking about right now. So, we're not gonna go down that path.
Okay. Well, I'll cede the floor with the appreciation for the consideration that I'm sure you all will give to what's obviously a very charged topic in the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Understood.
Any other comments? Any other comments? Yes, sir.
My name is Christopher Ravard, R-I-V as in Victor, A-R-D as in dog. I live in District 3, down the street from Joy. I would like to remind everyone to make time this weekend to come out and support the Rebel Alliance at the Star Wars themed Hot Air Affair. It's a good opportunity to reflect on which side of the story we'd all prefer to be on. I said that too fast, I'm sorry. May the force be with you.
Yay.
Thank you, Chris.
Hoping for good weather.
Any other comments? Any other comments? Any other comments? Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll close that portion of the agenda. Presentations. We have a council discussion now on law enforcement and immigration impact in Hudson. We'll start out with our chief of police, Jeff.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and members of our community here tonight. I stand before you not only as your chief, but as a public servant entrusted with the safety, rights, and dignity of every person in this city. I know emotions are high when it comes to immigration enforcement and cooperation with federal law enforcement agencies like ICE. I also know that many of you are motivated by compassion, concern for neighbors, and fear or perception of injustice. Those concerns are valid and deserve to be heard, not dismissed. The Hudson Police Department's mission is clear: to protect life, property, uphold the law, and preserve public trust. We strive to ensure that Hudson is a safe and desirable place to live, work, and visit. The City of Hudson does not set immigration policy. We do not write federal law. Our responsibility is to operate within the law as it exists, while safeguarding constitutional rights and maintaining the confidence of the community we serve. Public safety is not political. It is foundational. There has been confusion and, in some cases, misinformation about what cooperation with ICE entails. Let me be clear. Our department does not conduct immigration raids. We do not stop people to inquire about immigration status. We do not enforce civil immigration law. Any cooperation that occurs is narrowly defined, legally reviewed, and focused on individuals who pose a demonstrated threat to public safety or who are involved in serious criminal activity. Local police are not immigration agents, and we have no interest in becoming them. Some members of the public have called for total disengagement from our federal partners. I understand the intent behind that request, but there would be consequences. When agencies refuse all cooperation, violent offenders can evade accountability. Victims lose protection, criminal networks exploit jurisdictional gaps, and trust in the justice system erodes for everyone. Public safety does not function in silos. It is about protecting life and property, upholding the law, and preserving the public trust. Let me say this plainly. When the public is afraid to call 911, we all lose. That is why our officers are trained to prioritize victim and witness cooperation regardless of immigration status. Reporting a crime will never be treated as a gateway to deportation. Trust is earned through consistency, transparency, and accountability. Supporting law enforcement does not mean shielding misconduct. We have clear policies governing cooperation with federal agencies, internal and external oversight mechanisms, training on constitutional policing and civil rights, and discipline for violations of law or policy. Authority without accountability is not public service, it is failure. I ask everyone to remember that law enforcement affects real people, families, children, and communities. But enforcement is also carried out by real people, officers sworn to uphold the law, many of whom came from illegal or immigrant backgrounds themselves. Demonizing public servants for carrying out lawful duties does not advance justice. It undermines morale, recruitment, and ultimately everyone's safety. We can reject cruelty without rejecting the rule of law. We can demand accountability without dismantling public safety. And we can have serious, honest conversations without turning our neighbors into enemies. My commitment as your chief is this. We will protect our community. We will follow the law. We will respect human dignity, and we will listen. Thank you. I'm assuming you want me to stand here for questions?
Tonight, just one second. Tonight, just please, no applause or any other type of commentary
When they're hissing.
when the speakers are done or during their conversations. Does anybody have questions?
I do. So, Chief, we're hearing from a lot of area residents and business leaders. They've got questions, and we'd like to get answers to as many as possible and have them on the record. First of all was the clarification on the flock cameras. So what are the privacy settings that are used? Okay, we understand that the city is not required to share with the federal government. What are we required to share with the federal government? And if we are sharing data, why and how do we change the policy is what the question is.
Right. Well, I can tell you that the federal government does have access to the flock camera network nationwide. It's not categorized by individual jurisdictions. That's an agreement that the federal government has with flock. There's nothing we can do to prevent that.
So they have access to our cameras?
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there's nothing that we can do. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Then another question was about drone cameras. What's legal and illegal for law enforcement or ICE?
Yep. So we have a drone ordinance. It is chapter 187-20. It prohibits, I'll just read it. No person shall use a drone as defined by Wisconsin statutes with the intent to photograph, record, or otherwise observe another individual in a place or location where the individual has a reasonable expectation of privacy. The section does not apply to law enforcement. So basically, it talks about private people and their use of drones. Basically says you can't fly it over their private yards and things like that for the purpose of recording, photographing, or collecting information from someone's private residence. But there's an exception in there for law enforcement.
Okay. Are law enforcement, are they allowed to use drones to look in windows?
If there's a warrant for the residence or a public safety threat, like would have exigent circumstances to enter the residence without a warrant, we would deploy a drone in some situations to try and see what we can see from outside in. Yes, as a safety procedure, yeah.
Quick point of
But
question.
we would have to have very specific articulable reasons to do that.
Quick point of clarification on that. Is that what type of warrant? Is that one that's issued
Well,
from,
it'd either be an arrest warrant or a search warrant
okay, from a judge?
from a judge.
Okay, then residents wanted clarification on what they can do that follows the Constitution. What activities are police ticketing and/or issuing warnings regarding?
Sure. So what types of activities can people do? They can record from public places. They can have their chant. They can wave their sign. They can protest peacefully on a public sidewalk. Once you start walking into roadways, blocking traffic, blocking law enforcement vehicles or personnel from doing what they want to do or what they need to do, touching law enforcement officers or federal agents, those are not permitted acts, right? You can stand on a sidewalk, you can record, you cannot intervene. You cannot try to prevent them, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, or federal law enforcement, it's all the same. You cannot prevent them from doing what they're doing.
Thank you. And then.
Oh, you asked about ticketed. We haven't ticketed anybody, but there has been one situation where someone was warned for unlawful use of their horn, of the car horn. We do have a state statute that prohibits that conduct, and we do have a disorderly conduct with a motor vehicle ordinance, 187-2, that does talk about not using your horn, your car horn, for that purpose, the purpose of protesting. I can tell you that 90% of the calls we've gotten regarding ICE operations in this community have come from residents that were calling us because they were disturbed by the horn and whistle noises outside the residence. So the people in these neighborhoods are the ones calling us
Okay,
because of that activity. So those are the calls that we've gotten. We've gotten one call from actual ICE agents where this was happening, and we responded and had a conversation with the individuals. Nobody has been cited for any of these violations. I believe the ordinance was printed and given to the individual in the last situation that we had.
so are whistles allowed, or is that considered disturbing the peace as well?
It could be, depending on the circumstances. It's a totality of the circumstances kind of conversation. But to just stand in the middle of the road and blow a whistle, we'd probably have a conversation as to why you're blowing the whistle, right? To make that determination.
Okay, thank you. Then, what can the police department do if ICE is acting unlawfully?
What do you mean by acting unlawfully?
So if they're going into homes without warrants, if they're arresting, are they allowed to arrest people that are not, people who are citizens that are?
I am not trained in federal law. I'm not certified in federal law enforcement, so I don't know the answers to your questions. I do know that federal law enforcement also has the same constitution we have, and they have to have reasonable suspicion to stop somebody, probable cause to arrest somebody. I have heard, I do not know, that certain judicial orders constitute federal warrants. But I do not know enough to talk about federal law enforcement and what their rules and policies are.
Okay. Thank you.
If they are excessively using force, and we see that, the state statutes and our policy indicates that we shall intervene any law enforcement officer we perceive to be using excessive force. So yes, to that situation, we would be legally justified in intervening in that conduct if we saw it.
Thank you. I know people really want to know the answers to these questions, and we appreciate you being able to take them.
A few more, and then certainly if anybody else has some. What if an upstander feels that they are being threatened or intimidated by a federal agent? What do you recommend they do?
I recommend they call us.
call you? And what happens
They
if
call
they...
the police department, and we will come out there and investigate.
Okay. Perfect. And what happens if a federal agent refuses to show their badge and they're in the process of arresting someone?
Could you
Again, I
speak a
can't-
little louder?
Yeah.
It's soft-spoken tonight. Thank you.
Oh, and that's not usual for me. What happens if a federal agent refuses to show their badge and they're in the process of arresting someone?
Again, I can't comment on whatever federal law enforcement policies or legal justification is. I don't know.
Okay. And what happens, we've been asked, has any additional overtime or additional costs been passed on to the police department as it relates to ICE or immigration activities?
We have not experienced an uptick in overtime usage based on those activities.
Okay. So from my perspective, those are the additional questions building off of Joyce that I've heard from residents. I'm not sure if others have additional questions that they would like clarification on.
Anybody?
Oh, I have a list myself, but I'm going around the circle. Do you want to go next?
No, go ahead, John.
Okay, well, thank you, and I appreciate your thorough.
Just, if I may interrupt, just one second.
Yes, certainly.
Keep in mind also, and this is not to stop any questioning here, but we're going to be hearing from Nick, too, on the legal side of some of these
Okay.
things.
Well, would you rather we
No,
wait?
no, I just
Okay.
want to let you know that.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. I think we've certainly got a good amount of time to have this discussion because it's important.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, there are questions and concerns coming from residents that need to be addressed. We had quite a few people, as was mentioned, at public comments, and I didn't mean to seem harsh in saying no public comments tonight, but it's the rule that we have operated on for several years now, where you don't get to speak about the issue at hand. We are not a town hall form of government. We're elected representatives of our residents, and there's plenty of opportunity to reach out to us by email, phone, and public comment at different meetings. So in fairness, that is why I did want to insist on that, and I don't mean to devalue what those individuals wanted to offer tonight. It's just the format and the timing is critical. So I did have some concerns about some of the issues that were brought up, and for those who don't know, last week, or 2 weeks ago, January 20th, when public comments were given by 12 or 13 individuals, we sat silently, listened respectfully, but did not answer or engage. And the reason for that is we're not here to debate people who are at the podium. They get a chance to speak without someone countering them or disagreeing, and because that can be intimidating to people. So we don't get a chance to address issues at that time, and so sometimes that's disappointing to people who are in the audience who would like to know, hey, what's going on here? And it might be, is anyone going to fix my pothole in front of my house? That could be a question sometimes too. Obviously, this is a much more sensitive and emotional topic, and I am concerned that some of the statements, we haven't had a lot of factual backup. We've heard a lot of people say, well, I heard this, or someone told me, friend of a friend. So that's concerning, especially I'm quite concerned when statements are made specifically about our Hudson Police Department that were kind of inflammatory. That does bother me. They exist to serve us. I've said for a long time that when we go to bed at night in Hudson, there's a lot that goes on that we don't know about. And when I was speaking to one of the police officers recently, he said, and that's how we want it, that you don't know what's going on. They take care of the traffic that comes in and out of Hudson and the issues that go on, and we want to be supportive of our department, and as you mentioned, morale is important for you as the chief and all of our officers that are on patrol. So it does bother me when sort of inflammatory wording, accosted, things like that. We heard the word Nazi used frequently, probably referring to us sitting here. There's a Gestapo reference that you're the neighbor that's telling the Gestapo. Those are not helpful in a small town like Hudson, where we are trying to come with solutions and be good neighbors to each other and be supportive to each other. So I know they come out of emotion and caring for a certain group, but that doesn't mean that we should tear down another group. the people that are elected, the people that are here serving, the people, our law enforcement that are putting themselves in harm's way. So I just want to make that comment in general that I hope we can dial down the wording in a way. And again, I'm trying to approach tonight that same way. I do have a couple of questions for you, Chief. Could you tell me, one of the commenters last week mentioned something about a reference on the police department webpage. And I did go onto your page, and the only thing that I could see under programs was a statement that was listing that you have a victim notification program. Is there anything else that I'm missing that would be mentioning immigration on your webpage?
No, that's the only one that's there.
Okay, thank you. So anyone that would object to a victim being notified that the person that perpetrated, I mean, I think we all know in law enforcement, it's very important to support the people. And as the chief just said, coming forward to report a crime, even if you aren't comfortable that you have legal status, that can really put people, vulnerable people, in harm's way because they're afraid to come to law enforcement. So I just want to support our department for having that mentioned on their page, that they are providing a safe and secure avenue for people who have been harmed, perhaps even a relative of someone that's here without documentation. So I just want to push back on that narrative that was brought forward 2 weeks ago. I would also like to ask you to comment. There was also a comment, sort of an accusation, that your department might be racially profiling people that are being pulled over. It's, the officer determines that they don't have a driver's license. What happens in that scenario, and why are people being pulled over that leads to that situation?
Well, the statement that people are being racially profiled is absolutely ridiculous, and it's not true. We have very significant policies in place to prevent that from happening, and that's not happening. People will get stopped for a traffic or an equipment violation while operating a vehicle upon the roadways of the city. And sometimes those people do not have valid driver's licenses. Those people will be cited. They will continue to be cited for not having a valid driver's license. We cannot get into the area or the arena of not citing these people, because if we let them go and drive down the road and then they kill one of your family members, I'm liable. Mm-hmm. We're not going to put ourselves in that position. So if you're an unlicensed driver, 100% of the time you're likely going to get a citation for it.
So it might be sort of a routine traffic stop, and you're asking for...
Could start with an out headlight. Or
pardon?
it could start with an out headlight,
Sure.
or a speeding violation, or a stop sign violation, or a registration violation, yes.
Okay. And so they would receive a ticket, but you do nothing more. They're supposed to pay that ticket. They aren't taken into custody.
They would receive a ticket, a citation, and be released.
And they're released. They don't even leave the location. They're ticketed there at their car, and...
That's correct.
That is correct. Okay, thank you for clarifying that, because I do think, again, I want to bring the temperature down on, because I do worry. I mean, we all have seen and observed snippets, facts, and information that come to us about what's happening in the Twin Cities, but we need to be careful that we're not turning up, I'm concerned about turning up the emotions, because I think that puts fear in people, and then they don't feel comfortable in the community, and I don't want to be a part of increasing people's fear. I appreciate your comments that are helping to help people realize you're safe. In Hudson, people, there are parameters in place, and our police department is very well trained in handling those issues. I just want to make a note also, anyone who truly has a concern about what the Hudson Police Department is doing, or a particular officer, we have a complete body of independent individuals called the Police and Fire Commission that are appointed by the mayor, approved by the council. They have guidelines that they work by. A number of the members of that commission are former law enforcement. They're involved in any disciplinary and other issues, and so there are avenues for someone to come if you do really feel that something inappropriate has been done by Hudson Police. So I did want to just talk one more moment about the driver's license issue, because I think there's some confusion between our two states. The state of Minnesota has made a decision to issue driver's license kind of on demand. Anyone who requests one, you don't necessarily have the documentation in hand to do that. They are providing them. In the state of Wisconsin, it is possible to get a driver's license if you have a work permit. You can, if you have gone through any of the asylum steps, and there's an app, that's one of the issues, is millions of people have requested asylum, which is leading to a big backup. And so there may be, and people say, well, I'm legal, I'm here legally because, well, you applied for asylum, but what's the next step? And the next step is to go, to have your case reviewed. And asylum is supposed to mean that you fear for your life in your own country. And I think most of us realize that a lot of the people who have come to the United States are actually seeking a better life for themselves and their family. And, their asylum case will be determined at some point. But in the state of Wisconsin, if you get a work permit, which is called an employment authorization permit, which you can apply for, then you can actually get a driver's license. And that you do need to take a written test, a driving test, and a vision test. So it's not just handed to you by request, but you can get that. So that was a comment that we heard repeatedly last week, is they can't get a driver's license. Well, if they are genuinely going through the steps to get their documentation fully authorized, then even in a baby step, they could get a driver's license. That does, of course, having a written test indicates a command of the English language enough to pass that exam. And so that can be a difficult hurdle. I do recognize that's not necessarily easy to achieve.
Can I interject something
Sure,
real quick?
please, if you can correct me.
So the state of Wisconsin also allows for the period of up to 1 year for someone with a foreign driver's license. If they have a foreign driver's license in their home country, you have the period of 1 year to legally drive in this country. Until you obtain residency or employment, that is the trigger that requires you to get a driver's license in this state.
Sure.
So you have a period of up to a year you can drive legally with your home state driver or your home country driver's license.
Thank you. So they wouldn't even have to go to DMV. They just have to have. So if one of these individuals was stopped by your officer and they said, well, here's my driver's license in Ecuador or Honduras, wherever, your officer would say, okay, there you go.
Yes.
I'm here.
Thank you. All right, thanks for that clarification. That's all my comments for now. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions?
A question or clarification on a comment that Council Member Knutson made. When she was talking about ticketing, and you had mentioned that you pull over for routine things such as speeding, running a stop sign, whatever it might be. When you issue a ticket, what happens next then? Does that stay just in our system? Does that go outside of our systems?
Well, our records are shared countywide.
County?
It stays in that system.
Okay.
Obviously, it goes to our municipal court because they'll have a court date. It's not usually required unless it's a serious offense like OWI. Would they be required to show up at court? But if it's a minor traffic infraction, no valid driver's license, a speeding citation, they would have the option to pay the municipal court citation, fine amount, and not have to come to court at all.
Okay.
So when you're issued a citation, unless it's a very major traffic infraction or a criminal traffic infraction, you have the option to pay the citation or show up at court.
But wouldn't that go to the state database?
The citation is imported into tracks. It probably does go to the state tracks database.
Because of the point system against your driver's license.
Yep. Convictions would definitely go to the DMV, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So those convictions of traffic citations would definitely go there. Yeah. But just the fact that we issue a citation, it won't go there immediately. We'll have the record in our in-house database, which is shared countywide, just in St. Croix County, and then the municipal court, and then once convicted, then municipal court sends that information to the state.
Okay. I really appreciated the comments that you made. Certain things really resonated with me. Reject cruelty without rejecting the law. So protecting our community, following the law, listening, really important things. And it's really evident that you and the officers in Hudson have done a lot of work to build community trust. And I certainly don't want anything to undermine that. And so it is noted, it is evident, and it is immensely appreciated. And I just, before I move on to some additional things, I wondered if anybody else had any clarification that they would like.
I will, but I'll reserve comment until I hear what legal says.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Do you have more right now, Sarah?
Nope.
Oh,
I think I should wait to hear from Nick, too.
All right, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, in the last council meeting, we had a number of speakers that's been referenced a few times here tonight, and there were a number of suggestions that came up, and we wanted to let everybody know that these things were dealt with, or that we were going to deal with them seriously. There were some concerns as well as suggestions, and over the past 2 weeks, we've had not just our chief of police and community development, but also our city attorney has looked into this, and so Nick has prepared some, I would say, responses probably to some of the issues that were raised the other night.
Certainly, and first I want to say thank you to Jeff for his comments. We've had a lot of conversation and dialogue just regarding these various issues that council members have raised. And I know they're top of mind for him, they're top of mind for his staff, and we're constantly working to make sure that we cover all those issues appropriately. From a zoning perspective, we appreciate the comments received from both the council and the public requesting a review of the city's zoning code with respect to a potential ICE detention facility in the city of Hudson. To be clear, the city has not been contacted by any party regarding a potential detention facility within the city. The city staff know of no current or future desire or intention on any party's part to locate a detention facility within the city. That being said, city staff and Brent authorized and directed a review of the city's code against relevant case law for potential amendment based on the comments that were received by the public at the last meeting. The city's authority to specifically target and eliminate detention facilities themselves is severely restricted by the preemption doctrine and the supremacy clause of the United States Constitution. The supremacy clause preempts local efforts to regulate or eliminate uses that are otherwise within the sole control of the United States of America. There's been significant case law developed over the history of our country limiting local efforts to solely regulate the federal government. Any effort to change or amend the city's zoning code to specifically focus on the elimination of detention centers in this community will most likely be met with litigation based on the preemption doctrine. Amending the code for this singular purpose is not recommended. Again, just to make clear for the public, we're not aware of any potential intention for the location of a facility within the city, nor do we know of any building or parcels that might even be available for such use should such intention arise. We continue to work on this matter and have conversations with city administration, with community development, with public safety, to ensure the city's ordinances and regulations appropriately reflect the policy desires of the council coming out of discussions like this, and appreciate the council's continued support in this endeavor.
Okay. Questions? Anybody? Nothing?
That's all. That was a lot of. That's it?
That was the issue I was asked to look at, right?
All right. I thought you might have had some other stuff they had.
No, that's the question that came out and was directed to me on that particular issue. Happy to share anything else or answer any other questions from a legal perspective that the council might have arising out of Jeff's comments as well.
Okay. Once again, anybody?
Just my comment, and I've been doing this, the privilege of doing this for a little bit of time, but I've also had the privilege of growing up in Hudson, born and raised here, and I raised my family here. My dad was a cop for over 25 years here. I know there's a lady in the audience that he served with, her dad. And it's never been so polarizing, but we always defended what our police department did, has done, and continues to do, and we don't stoke the fire. It's great. I'm glad people ask the questions that we can answer, but let it be facts, let it be truth. None of this made up stuff. If that could be the case in some of the incidents, we just don't know. It's a lot of hearsay. So I'm very proud, Jeff, of what you said, and I'm very proud of the police department and the way they're handling this situation. Is there something that can be done and continue to educate people? Absolutely. But as long as we work together, communicate respectfully to each other, I think by all means we can move the needle down as far as temperature and support everybody in the community. And believe me, I am directly affected with people's colors of their skin. I reject that argument that any profiling has been done. Is it an issue in the community? It probably is. But you can't judge people. You don't judge people for what you don't know and what family has gone through, unless you've been in that situation. I've also been directly involved with some of the activities with ICE in my line of business, and it's been difficult. But there are also things that they're doing right. I'll be the first one to stand up and say I was wrong if something nefarious happens with any, in particular the flock camera, or if there's an ICE agent, or if our officers are doing something incorrectly. I'll be the first one to stand up and say I was wrong. How do we fix the situation? Coming up with a solution and not just pounding problems. I think we forget to do that, and we're too busy pointing fingers and trying to place blame on things. Work together, communicate, and move forward. That's all I'll say.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
We've had, so, you know, in hearing from the residents, some of the things that have come up are, they're interested in a public statement from our council supporting lawful immigration practices, supporting immigrants, recognizing that immigrants are important to our local economy, things like that. So I want to see what the rest of the council would like to do with as far as that request. They've also mentioned that the city of Richfield has put signs in city-owned parking lots that say that these areas are restricted to city use and discourage the use of them by ICE for staging things. The other thing that they asked was that we encourage the police to be present at schools and school bus stops during drop-off and pickup. And I recognize that there are issues. We don't have enough police officers to cover all of these areas, but that's a request. And so I'm bringing this up because we want to, I mean, this is part of the transparency too. And then they want to have follow-up sessions that will give them some more information so that they are feeling like their questions are being heard, they're getting answered, and that we're listening to what they are asking.
Well, I have a question, probably the chief could answer it, and this was something that was brought up at our meeting in public comment time period, implying that the immigration and custom enforcement officers are not law enforcement. Could you comment on that and what their you mentioned federal laws and federal, all agencies that you're required to cooperate with. How does ICE fall into that?
Well, enforcement is literally in the definition of the word. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They are law enforcement. They're federal law enforcement, just as the FBI, DEA, Homeland Security, any three-letter federal acronym you want to use. It's all law enforcement.
Okay.
Federal law enforcement, which, as I explained, is much different than state and local law enforcement. It's a different set of rules, different set of laws that they are investigating and enforcing.
Thank you. Thanks for the clarification.
Welcome.
The issues before our city I don't feel are related to our police department.
Pardon me?
The issues before our city are not related to our police department. They are, I've been hearing from restaurant owners of dedicated employees that have served our community. Randy, you indicated you have employees that have served our city for decades and that have been unlawfully picked up, that have been going through the immigration process, and restaurant owners who feel that there is targeting from the ICE agents, not from our own police department. That is not what I am hearing. And folks in our community are asking us to take a stand on what our position is. Each one of us here swore to the Wisconsin Constitution, which protects residents regardless of their status. And I can certainly go through those articles, those sections, and in addition to the Wisconsin Constitution, as a Golden Rule city, to me, that means really living those values when it's hard to do, to take those stands and support those community members that are following the rules and that are being targeted simply because of their color of their skin. So I affirm what Councilmember Hall has said, and I affirm what our residents have asked us to do, to make a statement, and I would urge us to consider doing that.
Anybody else? Okay, so clearly there is nothing on the agenda that would accommodate that tonight. So, something that we cannot take up tonight.
I was under the impression, under Robert's rules, that if it was on the agenda, that there could be a motion related to that. I'm wondering if Mr. Vivian could weigh in on that.
That's not how we have conducted our business here.
We follow Robert's rules, correct?
No. Well, I've got an issue with that.
I know. We're supposed to follow Robert's rules. How about that?
Well, the issue is not Robert's rules. The issue is that it's under the agenda as presentations. It's not on for action, tonight. So it's not under new business or old business, which is where you would typically take action. So.
Was that... That feels like there could have been some intent behind that. This is time sensitive, so I don't know if it's something where we could have another meeting with potential action then. And I know our next meeting is not scheduled until March, and I feel like that's too far out.
Well, quite frankly, I just made my statement. I don't need to do it again.
Are other council members interested in making a statement
So,
as a council?
before we go into that, I want to address, that was pretty much an accusation.
Was there an intent?
Yeah.
Was there an intent? Because
So we have a policy that says we do not make statements like that without taking a vote to have, and it has to have 5 votes to even consider making a statement like that. So as to intent, seriously, we have a policy. There's no intent there.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the clarification then. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Consent agenda?
Approve the meeting minutes from the January 20, 2026 regular council meeting. Approve the claims in the amount of $688,464.67. Approval of the investment tracking software. Approve the purchase of new turnout gear. Approve the purchase of new gear dryer. Approve the plans and authorize advertisement for bids for the 2026 alley improvement project. And approve the proposal from Stantec Consulting Services to provide final design and construction phase services for the 2027 Locust Street reconstruction project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Roll call.
Morissette?
Yes.
Wakefield?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Brooke?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Motion's approved. Consent agenda is approved. We have nothing else on the agenda. Oh, we do have, we have nothing else on the agenda. Anybody? Anything?
I do have a comment. I wanted to address and we might go several meetings before we have as many people coming with very significant, impactful comments as we did in January. But you usually give a guidance to people, and a certain amount is written on our agenda, so it's available online. The guidance does not specifically say that they must provide their address, but in your verbal instructions, you typically do say, provide your address. I went back and counted, I think there were 13 commenters on January 20th, and only 5 actually gave a street address. Some said, well, I've lived in Hudson 40 years, 20 years, whatever. I live in downtown Hudson. And I am sensitive to this, and I know it was an issue a few years ago during COVID when we had a tremendous amount. It was not on the council then, but a lot of people coming forward. And some people are not comfortable giving their address publicly on the mic, recorded on video, and I would like to be sensitive to that. So I would suggest, and this may be completely under your purview and your decision as the mayor, that perhaps we consider having a clipboard for people to sign in, and we can specifically ask for their street address. Then they can just say their name, and we know we have it recorded. Of course, the clipboard would have to be near the podium. Perhaps one of the department heads who are often here, mandated by their job title to be present, could handle the clipboard. It might take 5 minutes of 10 minutes of getting those addresses, and that would make it easier for the clerk to know who had been there. And there are times, I think, when city staff might want to reach out to people to answer their question or explain the issue, or maybe it's a council member saying, oh, they live in my district, but I don't know how to reach them, to at least have a little more information. So food for thought. I just wanted to bring.
I think it's a great idea. I think that's an excellent idea. And it's what really. I mean, we had said very specifically back then. The rule was you had to live in Hudson and you had to state your address. And there are times when, and at some critical moments since then, where it just slides by. Even tonight, somebody said, Becky said somebody didn't give their address.
Or catch the name. They can't catch the name quite right.
And so, yeah, my bad on some of that.
Well, people are nervous.
There are also times when, I kind of let it go, kind of like when the applause, like last time.
I understand. And I give credit to people who do come forward and speak. That's not easy to do.
No.
To come and be on camera and at the mic. We certainly receive lots of letters, and that's a great option for people to write to us. In case people don't know, there is a tab on each agenda page where you can write to the mayor and the council all at once. Make it quick.
I think that's a great idea.
So anyway, for your consideration, it might give some privacy to individuals, and that we could also be certain they do live in the city of Hudson.
Sure. Yeah.
So just a thought.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? You have a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. We stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Yo.